On today's show, Bray is here to show us how to make this adorable fairy tic-tac-toe travel game.
So to get started, you want to create the game board, which also serves as the travel container. So I just went to my local craft store and bought a plain wood box in about the size I wanted. You can go up to a 12 by 12 box, or if you're traveling, maybe a little bit smaller. You use some Martha Stewart acrylic craft paint and create a base coat. I used a green, mint green, to give it kind of the look of grass, because that's where fairies like to play.
And you cover the whole box with the paint?
You do cover the whole box. You may want to set it aside for 30 minutes, let it dry, and do a second coat if you feel you need more coverage.
If it's not opaque enough?
Right. To make the tic-tac-toe board, instead of just doing your usual cross, the grids, I thought some flowers would be really cute.
It goes with the whole fairy theme.
It does, and I made my own stencil using a Sizzix die cut. So I ran one of Eileen's flower dies through the Big Shot machine.
And we do have a tutorial video online that will show you exactly how to use this machine with this die and all of their different dies. To learn how to do that, check it out.
And they have a huge selection of flower dies, so really you can pick and choose what style flower you want. And once you get it out of the die machine, most people utilize the actual shape that came out.
I think this is such a good idea.
But I'm going to use what you usually throw away as a stencil.
It's just such a good idea. What options you've just opened up for stenciling?
So I'm kind of famous for eyeballing things, but if you really want to have a nice straight grid for your game, you could measure and draw your lines. I would recommend, if you're going to do it my crazy style way, start in the middle
and work your
way out.
Yeah.
But this is for kids, and they're going to be fine with a little.
They'll be so distracted by the cuteness of the fairies they won't notice.
Right. And so you can use some spray adhesive, or again, I'm going rogue, and I'm just going to hold down my stencil. And it's important to note, I use cardstock to create this, because you want something that has a little bit of strength to hold up to you stenciling.
To keep the paint from bleeding through too, right?
Right,
yeah, so you don't want that extra paint bleeding through.
Right. And then I used, again, Martha Stewart's acrylic craft paint. I picked two colors to use for the board and the whole game. I'm using pink and yellow. And I decided that every other flower would be pink or yellow. So I got a little bit of pink paint here and a Martha Stewart dauber, and you just
pounce it on.
You just pounce it on, because you don't want to have, if you streak it, you're going to start getting under.
It gets up underneath, yeah.
Right.
I'm stencil challenged, so I'm always amazed by people that can stencil. That is so cool. It is such a good idea. So then you do the entire board.
You do the entire board.
Your 9 flowers, and then set it aside to dry?
Yes.
Okay. So now Laura's going to show us the secret that makes this fairy game a perfect travel game.
I decided to put magnets on the game board, both because it's a travel game and you're going to have fairies flying all over the inside of your car, or they're going to end up under the table at a restaurant.
It's a fairy frenzy.
It's going to be fairies everywhere. And to prevent that, and to make the game easier for little kids, because these fairies are tall.
A little tippy.
Yeah, and they're going to knock them over. If they have a magnet, they won't.
It's a great idea. It's a great idea.
And it's so simple. You just use some ProMAG flexible magnets in this round shape, and you use some Beacon's tacky glue, squirt a little bit of glue into the center of the flower. Now you want to make sure that your flower that had been stenciled on is dry.
Thoroughly dry, yes. Let your paint thoroughly dry before doing this step.
Just a dab.
And that's going to hold that magnet in place for the base.
And then I decided I didn't really like just black magnets on the top because everything has to be pretty.
Girly, girly, girly.
So I cut some more of the die cuts in. If you're really creative and think ahead, you could run print paper through for your stencil. Use the opposite of for your stencil.
Yeah, so then you're not wasting what you cut. Smart, yes.
And then you have these extra flower shapes, and you just dab
that
with glue.
On top, and that's great. And it also gives that flower some depth and dimension.
It does. It looks cute. Not as you can see, you can vary the colors.
Mix your colors up as long as you're within your color palette. Yeah, it's cute. It's a great idea. So next she's going to show us how to make these adorable fairies.
So we're going to start with making the heads and faces, and I'm using Makin's clay, which is an air dry clay. It's sculpting. Don't get nervous. I'm going to walk you through it. It's much easier than you think it's going to be. But I did want to point out that air dry clay is really important because we're dealing with wood doll pins.
So you want a no-bake product.
You don't want to bake wood pins in the oven, or you might have a fairy bonfire.
Yeah, they'll be scorched.
So, to start with, it comes really soft right out of the package, which is great. And I tend to make it into a ball, and then for the faces, I'm going to kind of flatten it into a little disc. It doesn't have to be perfect. And you take the doll head. Now, you want these to be the legs, so you need to pay attention that you're putting the face in line with the legs.
Okay.
And you just wrap it around. I mean, you're not going to need glue or anything,
which is great.
It will stick to that wood as it dries.
As long as it's wet when you apply it.
And you don't have to cover the back because we're going to cover that with hair. So you need actually very little clay to accomplish this. I bring it down to around the neck, what would be the neck. And you just cover it. And then what you do is you kind of pinch it with your finger a little.
To make a little
nose. And then you can use an eraser if you want, or just your fingers and kind of indent. And look at that. Is that so simple to make a face?
It really does. It's easier than you think. And the earth tones come in such a great assortment of colors. They're perfect for different skin tones.
Yeah.
So you can match your little princess's skin tone,
exactly.
Too. Your little fairy princess.
And then you start with a ball, make it into a disc.
You're going to do her hair now.
I'm going to do her hair. You can also make boys,
yeah,
short hair, long hair. As you can see, I got really creative with the hair and made some different hairstyles.
I think it's fun. You've got some braids and some twists.
You have some braids. That's just a matter of small balls or making a coil and twisting it.
When you're working with the clay, one tip is to keep the clay you're not using in a Ziploc bag with a damp paper towel or a wet wipe, and that'll keep it fresh because it is a no-bake air-dry product and it will start to dry out once it's out of the package, but you can see it's still good and soft.
So once you've let it dry for about 24 hours, you want to take some of the Martha Stewart acrylic craft paint and add some facial details. As you can see, I just did some very small dots for the eyes and whatever color again.
Little cheeks and
little cheeks, a little mouth.
They're very whimsical, which is fun.
Right. This might even be something you want to let the kids get involved in.
That's a good idea. Yeah, let them do the fun part of making the little faces unique. Right. Now Laura's going to show us how to make these adorable little fairies stand up.
Right. These fairies were made from the Woodsy's doll pins, and they make a great product that goes with the doll pins that's actual stands that fit
I never knew such a thing existed. That is so cool.
So I just went ahead and painted with the Martha Stewart acrylic craft paint, pink and yellow because those were my two colors, and I did half the fairies in one color and half in the other, which is one way that the children, when they're playing Tic Tac Toe, can identify which color they have. So you just simply paint it, let it dry, and then as you can see, the doll pin just slides right in there. And then you take the magnet.
Another one of the ProMAG magnets and glue it
use
to the back.
the Beacon tacky glue again to glue it onto the bottom and let it dry. Because the magnet will slide, you just want to give it a minute to set.
Yeah. So now you're going to dress our little fairies?
This is the fun part.
Alrighty. So we told you this was a travel game. Now it's time for the secret part of this box.
You hold your fairies inside
It's a little nesting box. It is so cute. And you just lined it with
I just lined it with some scrapbook paper. You could also just paint the inside, line it with felt, whatever you want to do. And it helps fairies make it from point A to point B
so you
without
don't have that
getting
fairy
lost.
frenzy.
Right.
And then when they're ready to play, they can just close the box and it's ready, set, let's play.
We hope you've enjoyed When Creativity Knocks.
All-Star Designers Spring Series.
Like us on Facebook, pin us on Pinterest, and follow us on Twitter.
And don't forget, sign up on our website to receive our weekly newsletter, and you're eligible to win one of the weekly prize boxes full of products from all of our series sponsors.